So first and foremost, this is just a quick disclaimer, y'all. Real estate, renting and doing all that stuff where you see I'm gonna buy the house, live on one side, do all of that, I'm gonna be honest with you, it's not gonna get you rich.
What was one of your best assignment fees?
My biggest assignment fee was $70,400.
Just curious, did your actual rich dad, did he help you out at all?
Nah. I didn't meet my father till I was 15, and I found out that basically he was rich. Well, I was like, man, how is you only paying $200 in child support, like, and you making all this bread? He goes, well, it's called writing off your taxes and buying real estate. I don't hang around people I can't brag about. And I think once you start to understand that if you keep around people you aspire to be like, you start to understand you're the smallest in the room, and everything is always positive vibes.
What are your top ways to make money in real estate?
So I'm gonna give y'all the real sauce since we on this podcast, right? So once you actually start.
What's going on, fam? Welcome to Wolves of Real Estate Podcast, and today I have a super awesome guest. There's a lot of people in the real estate industry out there, and whenever somebody says guru and they do this, like, it's a bad thing, right? But I have somebody in here who's really out here, who's killing it. Know for a fact he's out here doing wholesale. He's got like all types of awesome things going on that will help you in your real estate business as well. So get your notebooks out. Like, definitely you're gonna want to like, share, and subscribe. But get your notebooks out because you're about to get a ton of game today. So I have here Mr. Brandon, man, Blue Nose Brandon in the building, bro. Shout out. Thanks for coming by, man.
Yes, thank you for having me. Appreciate the introduction. Yeah, man, it's gonna be I think it's gonna be definitely a good episode. I'm here to definitely give people, the step-by-step on how I was able to build, an acquisition company from scratch, and however I can help, and if you're watching this, hopefully this can give you that path up to success, because I know a lot of the times, on YouTube, they'll give you step 37.
Yep.
But then you don't know what step 1 through 36 was, right? So I'm going to try my best to give you guys the actual, action steps in a condensed form, so where you guys can actually start taking action and generating some money.
So you're about to show them how to scale it, like restart it and scale
whatever,
it.
Whatever it is that we need to do to give the people what they want. Let's make it happen.
Let's get it, y'all. You might not can see his wrist right now, but I see this man. If you follow him on social media, you're gonna see him at like the Rolex store all the time.
Yeah.
So pay attention, them dudes coming in.
Yeah, for sure.
To get started, man, let's just talk about, because a lot of times people think that real estate is easy and they see us winning all the time, but they don't understand, like, where they are now, they're probably going through some adversity, but they got to understand, like, we went through that as well. So can you tell us, like, real briefly about, like, where you started, and then, like, what kind of made you even get into real estate? Yeah,
so just like a little brief on my background. Essentially, I come from, single mom, single grandma. I shared a bedroom with my grandma to the age of 16. And, we always had enough, right? Roof over our head. I always had food on my stomach, clothes on my back. But, we just wasn't the richest on the block. And I didn't meet my father till I was 15. And I found out that basically he was rich. So I didn't really know that. I really didn't know who he was. And he was, doing pretty well because of real estate. And that was something that I always kind of stood in the back of my mind. But, coming from an immigrant family, we're always taught, go to college, get a degree, get married, work, buy a house, retire, have kids, and die, all that whole little steps. So I was like, let me try that out. And essentially, I started to learn how to cut hair. So I was a barber. I was an apprentice. I used to clean, the bathrooms, and, basically do whatever the barbers wanted me to do, wipe their stations down, things of that nature. And then I started to quickly analyze, like, what's called your earning capacity. Now, I feel like right now, if you're in the stage of adversity, you need to figure out what is it that you can actually do to, I guess, surpass your potential of making money. And when I say that is, essentially, you want to look ahead and you want to look at your boss, right? So I was looking at how could I make more money in the barber industry, right? And it was more so cutting more people's heads. Now, doing that, I'm having more time away from my family, obviously carpal tunnel, and just, grinding. But it's okay. When you're young, that's what you want to do, right?
Yeah.
And then essentially I was like, okay, well, that's another way I can make money. But the second way is charging more. But that was really hard too, because your competition is right next to you, right? If you go to typical barbershops, there's always a whole bunch of people, obviously cutting hair as well. So me going up $5, could sometimes hinder me. Obviously, maybe I'm getting better quality clients, but the volume now, right? Mm-hmm. You're kind of, picking between quantity and quality. For $5. So at the end of the day, I was like, man, I don't know what to do. And then most barbershops, the owners are actually still working there. They're still cutting hair.
Yeah.
So I looked at my earning capacity and I said, man, I don't think this is something that I want to do longevity-wise, right? Mm-hmm. And I started to kind of figure out, let me try something else. So I said, let me just go to college. So I started volunteering at a hospital. actually locally here. At the time, it was called Florida Hospital, and I was a patient transporter. So I was just pushing people around, and then they finally gave me a job after 4 months, and I started off making $9.50 an hour. So that's kind of where my journey landed when it comes down to just doing multiple things. So I was going to school Mondays and Wednesdays, right, Seminole State, and then I was working at the hospital Tuesday, Thursday, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday I was just grinding, cutting hair. And I did that for 6 years. It took me 2 years to get an associate's degree, or it took me 6 years to get a 2-year degree, associate's degree. I would use my pension money, my grant money to just go ahead and have fun, or buy this, buy that. I was just using it not, for school, and that just wasn't my thing. And then thereafter, man, that's when my epiphany hit. I was at Publix one day with my grandmother, and I'm still living with my mom and my grandma, and we're at Publix, and she's going to pay for the groceries. I didn't really have money like that, and the person, her card was declining, and the person behind us, this older gentleman, was like, "Oh, it's okay, I'll pay for it." And from that day, I was like, man, I'll never be in a position where I'll let another man choose whether I eat or not.
Yeah.
And I started to just figure out what's the fastest way to make money. And then everything, always goes back. All roads always lead to real estate. And that's what I love about it. Like, no matter where you drop me in this world, a barn, it's going to go to a barn. It's going to go to a industrial, a warehouse, a home, a multifamily. It's going to go to a commercial building. All roads lead to real estate. And like I said, it was kind of like one of those things where I'm like, man, my dad does it. I want to do it better than him. I want to show him, like, what I'm saying? Like, I just want to prove him. And then also, like I said, everybody always talks how real estate is king. So I said, you know what? Let me try it. I became a realtor, and then I failed at that too. Yeah. So
you, man, immigrant family, and this is all good stuff, because there's a lot of people out there that's like either going through what you've already gone through or about to go through it. And that's what a lot of people don't understand too. Mm-hmm. Things are going to happen to us even at this level, right? More money, more problems. It's just we're better equipped to handle it because we've already dealt with like so many problems ourselves. So you got into real estate. Like, what did that look like? When you first came into real estate, was your first deal like a wholesale deal?
Yeah. So I ended up becoming a realtor. I mean, that was the first time that I really took like anything real serious. Mm-hmm. I was always a C average student, class clown. I got expelled from both the high schools I went to. I had to graduate from alternative school. I couldn't even walk. So like for me, when I started studying for my real estate license, it was crazy because I literally just locked in. Like I learned how to actually study. I developed a studying pattern. I was able to retain information. And a lot of times when you're committed to something, you're really focused. That's why I say, and any individual that is just focused on one thing is literally unbeatable. Once you focus on one thing, you're going to succeed at it, right? So I just studied it and I passed it on the first try. But then thereafter, I didn't like the aspect of not being in control. Mm-hmm. So I would show people houses. I would, come, get out of work, take my scrubs off, put on something else, and I'd show them property. But, they didn't like the color of the door. They didn't like the lot size. They didn't like the neighborhood, whatever the case may be. So yeah, I mean, it was one of those things where I was like, I did it for a year and then I failed. And then I learned about wholesaling just on YouTube, and I was like, man, like this sounds like a scam. It sounds like it doesn't make sense to me, right? Like this wasn't what I was taught at realtor school, and I mean, it just sounds too good to be true, So I essentially my first wholesale deal. I actually kind of got taken advantage of. Essentially, I didn't have enough confidence to get the property under contract myself. So what I went ahead and did is that I just literally worked the deal, and then I had a buyer in my back pocket that I was cool with at the time, and I just said, hey man, listen, I just want 10K for this. I'm just gonna connect you guys, and you just pay me when to close. So it ended up being, once we closed, he paid me like $5K after 30 days, and I had to wait another month and a half to get a month or 2 months to get the other $5K. And that's when I was like, man, you know what? I just got to learn this contract inside out. And then my first wholesale deal I did from direct mail, which is something that I love to do. So yeah, that deal took me like around 42 days. It was in Sanford. And yeah, I mean, at that time, I would say, the economy was a little different, but, it just ended up, I always say, our timing and God's timing was different. So, it just ended up happening fairly quick for me.
Dang, so man, started out a realtor, and that's funny because there's a lot of people out here, and I want to say realtor is one of the common things that I'm hearing people, I'm about to get my license, I'm about to get my license, and I'm like, why?
Exactly.
Why?
Yeah.
And they think they're about to come in here and just like kill the game, but I think over, what is it, like 70% of realtors never actually even close a deal, right? 30% of agents are responsible for like 100% of the transactions, right?
Yeah.
So what would you say to somebody that's like, I'm about to go get my real estate license?
So what I would say to them is that if you can afford it, do it. Mm-hmm. Being a realtor can be costly because of MLS fees, because of the, continuing education sometimes. And depending on if you hang your license or you don't hang your license, it can be costly. But I would say that if you can afford it and you really want to do it, do it. I would say that the reason why I was able to become a quick, successful wholesaler was because I knew what the competition was bringing. Mm-hmm. So in real estate wholesaling, especially in investing, there's basically three people that you want to go ahead and overcome when you're talking to try to get a motivated homeowner to go your way. Number one is themselves, right? They have to understand that they have a problem. That the problem is the property, and because of the condition and their motivation, essentially they want to go out and do business. Number two is going to be a realtor, right? So a lot of the times they may want to list a property on the market for retail, and you have to be able to understand, like, I forgot what lawyer it is that says, like, oh, I used to work on their side, now I bring what I used to do for them over to you to help you defend on your case. So it's like me being a realtor, it kind of helped me understand, commissions, closing costs, or, when I first got started, I think I was working with Keller Williams, and then I transitioned to another broker, but they were like, yeah, just say that you guys, that you did 25 million last year, you and your team. It's like, I just started this week. Yeah, but as a team, last year we did. So sometimes it can be misleading, and of course, because you want to get your name out there, you want to be able to get that listing. But a lot of the times, realtors are dime out a dozen. So what I would say is mostly for education purposes, right, and understanding real estate law and how things work. And then two, just because of like wholesaling and the way regulation is going to be coming soon, I would just want to be secure, because at the end of the day, it's not going to hurt you to have your license. But if you can't afford it and you just want to get started immediately, you don't need it for sure, 100%. Yeah.
All day, every day. I'm about to get my license. I'm like,
But also, there's a lot of realtors too, man, because the cost of becoming a realtor, getting in the door, is not expensive. So like when I wanted to become a barber, the test to retake the test, I think it was like $100 or maybe $200 every time. But to actually take the test to become a realtor, it's like $30. So they know people are gonna fail, and it's really cheap to keep trying.
Yeah.
So they make it cheap, so obviously you can do it. Exactly. But for other ones, whatever trade or skill set, the DBPR will say, hey, listen, it's gonna be $200 to retake that test.
Right. And
so that's why a lot of people, it's easier to get in, but then once they keep you on, if you think about it, you just said how many realtors are throughout the nation. I mean, the MLS is charging, bro, $1,500. $1,700, $2,000, depending on when you relist or whatever, a year. So even if you're not doing anything, just to keep your license active, they're making money.
Bro, they're like Vegas. They always win.
Exactly.
They're always winning. That's crazy.
Exactly.
But people don't understand how you do anything is how you do everything. So it's cool that when you locked in, you stay locked in, right? Yep. So you brought that same work ethic to wholesaling. It's like, okay, I'm going to kill it. And then also, you probably were hanging around the right people too.
Yeah, so that's another thing that I would give you guys. Number one, if you guys are young out there, you're living with your people, you got to leverage that. Like if you only pay for your car insurance and your cell phone, that's the time that you can start studying a skill set, learning something that can make you a lot of money in a short amount of time. See, that's the key. Like my grandmother, she's a Colombian immigrant. She worked over 30 years as, janitorial services. She worked at Trump Tower. She worked a bunch of buildings in New York. But I haven't worked as hard as she has. Right, because I was just working in a different field that made me a lot of money in a short amount of time. Right, so what you guys need to understand is you need to be able to develop a skill set that makes sense, that's going to make you a lot of money and boost your earning capacity. So if you're with your people, I definitely recommend that you start learning, right, how to get into these different types of industries. Okay, and then what I would say is, like, if you're contemplating going to college, I went to college for 6 years. Like I said, I mean, it wasn't nothing crazy for me. Unless you're going to college for your passion, business, sales, or basically just financials, accounting, I wouldn't recommend doing it. I would just obviously find somebody like us to go ahead and just work under and build that wisdom of just business. But my bad, I forgot your question.
No, I was saying you need to. You probably were hanging around the right people.
Yeah. So one of my rules now is, and at that time it didn't really click for me, but one of my rules now was I don't hang around people, right, that I wouldn't trade that a piece of advice with. Like I wouldn't trade lives with you in that sector of your life.
Right.
So let's just say you're giving me advice about relationships, and you're single, or let's just say exactly you're going through a divorce or whatever. Now it's not saying that you've done something bad, but a lot of the times you may take criticism or you may take advice from somebody, right, where they just don't fit that bill, right? So that's number one. Number two, I don't hang around people I can't brag about. And I think once you start to understand that if you keep around people that inspire you and that also you aspire to be like, you start to understand you're the smallest in the room, and everything is always positive vibes. Because a lot of times what we do is we put ourselves in, crews or situations, or we put ourselves in relationships where we know that we're a little bit ahead of that person, so we feel at least a little comfortable. But when somebody feels ahead of you, right, or you're like, wow, I need to do better. I need to do more, right? So I don't like to hang around people that I just can't brag about, because it's just one of those things that leads to gossip, it leads to this, leads to that. And a lot of the times, you're trying to figure things out, but it's the blind leading the blind, right? If nobody knows what's going on here or what's our next step, then what's the point of, you got to go out. Back in the day, they used to go out, the caveman used to go out, kill the lion, bring it back. Yeah. Now it's like everybody's just sitting in the cave waiting for somebody to do something.
When's the lion going to come?
Yeah, everybody's starving.
Come killed on the plate already.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, do the work for me. Yeah. So hanging around the right people is very, very important. Reading books, So I read obviously Rich Dad Poor Dad. I met my rich dad, which is a mentor of mine, and that also helped me elevate a lot too.
Just curious, did your actual rich dad, did he help you out at all? Nah.
So my rich dad did help me, but he helped me in a way that I guess gave me the the motivator to want to keep, show him, I'm way better than you and I'm going to be better than you. But I did learn things from him. Like, for example, I was like, man, how is you only paying $200 in child support, and you making all this bread? He goes, well, it's called writing off your taxes and buying real estate. So I'm like, man, this whole time you was giving my mom only $200.
You went right in. Hey.
So I respected it, because my dad was always on some, transparent stuff.
Yeah.
My dad's also really big into watches, so he would, he'd show off his, watch or whatever. He's like, man, listen, this is something that you could buy it. If you buy it right, you only lose 10%. So we used to have conversations like that, but it wasn't like, he actually put me on game or did nothing. My mom is the one that raised me. I owe a lot to my mom and my grandmother, because they're the ones that helped me, have that mindset and mentality of, you got to get after it. Anything you want in the world, you get what you deserve. Like when you wake up in the morning and you don't like how your body looks, that's you decide to put what you want to put in your mouth. When you look at your bank account and you upset with what's in there, that's a reflection of how your day-to-day decisions are. So I just kind of noticed, hey, listen, you get what you deserve in life, and everything is about decisions. So there's a quote that I live by, your parents dictate your history, but your mentors dictate your future. And that's the biggest thing I started to do. I started to find mentors in books and ebooks. I didn't know what an ebook even was when I was, going to college and doing all of that. I didn't even ebook. What's an ebook?
Write that down. Let's post that later.
I didn't know what that was. I didn't know that everything that we do is so. When Jay-Z said, you're a businessman, I'm a businessman, right? Or whatever, I forgot the quote, I'm a businessman, not a businessman, whatever. What he meant by that is your resume is yourself. People go to their job, they get an interview and they talk about, okay, yeah, I did this, I went here, I graduated with a 4.0, then I worked here. You're showing your status, your reliability, what you can do, your skill sets. You have to understand that you as a temple, you as a person, you are the resume. Like you were saying with my watch, right? I'll go places, people are like, oh, that's a nice watch. Yeah. What do you do? Oh, yeah, actually, I teach people how to do real estate. Oh, I always want to get into real estate. I'm going to get my license. Well, man, I'll help you get into real estate. Join my free class. They join my free class, then I put them on, and I make money. So, I'm always wearing my resume.
Yep, you are the business.
I am the business. Right? I am the billboard, right? So, a lot of times, people don't understand that marketing is the biggest industry in the world. If you're not marketing yourself correctly, if your fingernails ain't cut, you ain't smelling good, you ain't looking good, You know, a lot of times, how can people take you serious?
Yeah.
You know, there was a point in time where I didn't know any of this stuff, you know, and nobody wanted to ask me questions. I wouldn't be on this podcast, right? So you have to become valuable, bro, in the marketplace. And that's what I tell people, kids, young people I meet all the time, and even older people. Like, listen, you can't be upset that they're paying you $22 an hour for the past year and a half because you knew that when you signed up. You know what I'm saying? So, of course, why would they jump you from 22 to 25? That's just not what that role does. And you have to be there longevity-wise. So you have to understand, how do you become more valuable in the marketplace to increase, right, how much you're getting paid per hour?
Bro, when I was working as a nurse in the hospital, I hated, bro, the salary starting out, I was like, bro, I thought nurses were making money. What the hell is this? So I took every class they had, man. Hey, you want to get certified in doing this type of IV? You want to do midlines? You want to do this? I was like, I'm on it. Bro, it got to the point where they couldn't fire me if I slapped the freaking owner. Because I was the only one in the hospital that could do certain things. So it would maybe 3 of us, but will we work the same shifts? No. Like, there's times where I was in the hospital and the only one that could use a certain machine, right? That's how you become valuable.
Irreplaceable.
Hey, I want to raise. Hey, I want to raise.
Exactly.
Hey, I want to raise. I got it every time.
And it's cool to also have a 9 to 5 and be an entrepreneur. Like, that's cool. Leverage their benefits, leverage their health insurance, you know, leverage. If you really start to look at a 9 to 5, and if you're working for something that makes sense, bro, it's a business. You can really see how it's all being orchestrated. You know, and it's the same thing transition into your own business. You can see how these pieces play a part so that you can scale your business 7 figures, because it's all ran the same way.
Facts. So now we're gonna get into like how y'all can actually make some of this money, right?
Yeah, let's get it.
So don't forget, like, share, and subscribe. Now there's thousands, I feel like, of ways to make money, right? Real estate, one of those awesome ways. And what people don't understand, like, we talk about, you know, wholesale, the BRRRR strategy. There's so many videos that you'll see on social media. So what I want to know is, one, like, what are your like top ways to make money in real estate? And then we're gonna like hone in like on the one that you do the most, that you like absolutely love the most.
Got you. Okay. So first and foremost, this is just a quick disclaimer, y'all. Real estate, buying, like renting and doing all that stuff where you see, I'm gonna buy the house, live on one side, do all of that. I'm gonna be honest with you, it's not gonna get you rich. All right, that's just a disclaimer. Real estate, the rich and wealthy, what we do is that we use it for tax depreciation, right? And we use it for cash flow. We use it for our bank account. That is our bank. Okay, so with real estate, you actually lose on paper, but you win in life. Right, when you buy a property, you're obviously, it's tax depreciating, so you're losing obviously on the tax side. But in life, obviously, you can do whatever you want with it because it's home ownership. You can rent it, you can for sale by owner it, you can lease option it, you can do whatever it is you want as long as you structure it correctly and obviously you know what you're doing. So I like to tell people, because that's the first thing, I want to get my license. Oh, I want to buy a duplex and I want to live on one side and I'm going to rent out the other side. Well, an extra $200-300 a month is not going to let you go ahead and go to Bali for a week. It's not going to go ahead and let you retire your mom, right? It's not going to let you to have these things that you may see on Instagram, which is all a facade, but you may not be able to do that with doing that piece of it, right? So what I would recommend is you start doing either wholesaling, or maybe it's something like you're doing, buying, tax deeds, something like that, as well as maybe doing Airbnb arbitration, right? You want to do something that's going to allow you to make a lot of money fast, okay? So I'm going to give y'all the real sauce since we're on this podcast, right? So once you actually start doing this, okay, and you start making a lot of money, I then want you to go ahead and document the process. Once you start documenting the process, you're going to be posting this content. Once you start to post this content, you're going to have other people going to rally behind you and going to want to learn, okay? Once they rally behind you and you're actually doing what you say you do, right? At that point in time, people are going to be reaching out about, hey, can I learn from you, right? And I'll tell you this, real estate is going to be great for your retirement. Doing it will be cool, quick cash money, right? But teaching people is where you'll make most of your money and faster money. And that's just the real game. Yeah. So right. So with real estate, what I would say is wholesaling, right? Wholesaling, for those of you that may not know, is essentially where you're finding a basically distressed property with a motivated homeowner attached to it, and you're negotiating to get it at between 40 to 60 cents on the dollar, which means 40 to 60% of what it's worth. All right, now make sure you gotta take notes. So a lot of the times, I'm gonna give y'all some acronyms. What we're looking for when we go to a wholesale deal is when I'm on the phone with somebody, I use this acronym called TOOM, and it's TOOM. So I'm looking for the timeline, how soon they want to sell. Occupancy, I want to make sure that I know what's going on inside the property, because when I have to sell the contract, right, I need to know if it's going to be vacant, if it's rented out, if they have a place to live. Ownership, I need to make sure I'm talking to all parties, right, because obviously someone may want to sell, the wife may not want to sell. And then motivation, that's the biggest key to it, right? I want you guys to understand that, like, everything is a byproduct. They don't want to, honestly, they don't want to sell the house. They don't even need the money. They want some type of feeling. So for example, let's just say dad has cancer. That's the reason that they have to sell the house. So they need to sell the house to receive the money to pay for the treatment, so that they can have some type of satisfaction or relief to say, I'm helping my dad out, or at least nothing's gonna happen to him. I wouldn't be in real estate if it wasn't for the satisfaction of wanting to be great, wanting to make money, wanting to be successful, wanting to have an impact. So a lot of the times it's a byproduct of what we have, right? You can choose to eat salmon in a salad, right? Or you can choose to eat Five Guys. If you think about it, the satisfaction may be a little different. After you eat the salmon in the salad, you're like, wow, I feel great, I'm gonna look great. When you're eating the Five Guys, you're like, man, that was so good, but I know I shouldn't have did that. Right? So you have to understand that in sales, it's all about getting this person to understand, or you getting to understand what is the actual, I guess you can say, emotion that they're trying to feel. So that's what I do on the phone. Now, I also ask a series of questions that is a recap. So I ask, R stands for the roof, E stands for electrical, C stands for the condition, A stands for AC, and then P stands for plumbing. So with those two acronyms, if you get that on the phone, you basically have somebody that can go ahead and get the property under contract. You sell that contract for more money. And if you're doing, let's just say one every quarter, 20K, 4 quarters, you do the math, right? So you're making decent money, obviously, just from home, virtually.
Flipping contracts.
Basically.
Yeah. So A to B contract, B to C contract is literally making people 20,000, 30,000, 50,000. What was one of your best assignment fees?
My biggest assignment fee was $70,400. $70,400. Yeah.
Damn.
It took a little bit. It was like about 5 months, because it was a short sale.
Okay.
But it was my biggest deal. It was right after COVID 2021, and that's another big hack, guys, that with real estate wholesaling, you actually get to learn how to invest into real estate. So one of my biggest hacks is that I would give my buyers deals. For example, if I'm selling a property for 100K, right? And they're like, man, I can only do 90, right? Unless you say I'm already making 15 on it. So what I could do is I'd be like, well, listen, I'll do 95, right? I'll do 95, but will you allow me to come and shadow you throughout this project? Yeah, whether I'm there, I'm not there, I got you. Just call me, or I'll give you a lockbox. You can talk to my contractor. So now there's properties that I fix and flip myself, and then there's obviously properties that I hold and things of that nature. And the dope thing is that I learned all of that through wholesaling.
Dang.
All of it. So like, I'll ask questions like, why do you guys paint all your houses this same red door? Well, because how would the house in Deltona know that the house in East Orlando has the same color door? We just take the paint, and we're saving the supplies. Well, okay, why in Pine Hills you guys put Formica and only 30-inch, 32-inch cabinets, and in Altamont you're putting 42-inch shakers? Oh, well, because it's a different type of aspect. I'm doing Section 8 over here versus over there I'm looking for a nurse, or I'm looking for this type of family. So I learned real estate investing through flipping these contracts and selling them. So you're making money, obviously quick cash. And when I say quick, it could take 30 to 40 days. Sometimes it could take longer. But what I mean is that you're not having to renovate the property. You don't have to use any of your own money. You don't need a real estate license, things of that nature. So you're making quick cash doing that. But if you leverage it right, you're also going to be hanging around people that are actually investing, right? So now what I do is that I look at basically things in this nature and everything most of the time. I look at it EOI, TOI, and ROI. ROI is return on investment. How much money can I make from this particular project? EOI is effort on investment, right? Sometimes not all money is good money.
Right.
And then the time, right? Time is, you have to understand, a lot of the time society is wanting you to trade a limited resource with an unlimited resource. So they want you to trade your money for time. Think about it. It's limited versus money they print. In America, we're in debt over trillions of dollars, right? They can just print money. So that's how I look at it. So most of the times I'm looking at properties, whether I want to fix them, flip them, keep them, whatever the case may be. Right. I look at those 3 things. But the dope thing is that I'm the gatekeeper. So because I get the property so cheap, if I like the margins or I like where it's at or whatever the case may be, I may fix it and flip it and keep it, or I may just fix it and flip it and do, you know, whatever the case may be. So,
dang.
Yeah, so basically that's how it works. You know, that's how it works. Yeah,
that was game right there. Hey, I'll give you this deal, but let me watch. Like, that's crazy.
Well, because
mentor.
Well, I don't know if you'd want to disclose. Like, how much is your high ticket mentorship?
My highest ticket?
Yes. If somebody wants to work with you to learn everything that you do.
If let's just say somebody wants to work like one-on-one with me, exactly. $70,000.
$70,000. Okay. Yeah. So imagine you have somebody that owns 50 rental properties, or somebody that does 50 fix and flips a year. Right. They barely have any time, right? Mm-hmm. They're gonna be charging, you know, prices like that because what you're trading for is what I do make versus me stopping to teach you, right? Yeah. But imagine if they need you more than you need them, even though you have less than them.
Right.
And as a real estate wholesaler, they can't get that deal without you signing that contract, and they want to keep building a relationship with you because you are that person that is keeping them obviously afloat. Yeah. So when I say, can I hang out with you, right? Or can I shadow your flips, or let's go to, right? So I started doing this thing, and basically what we do, it's not new, right? And this is another thing that I want people to understand. Like, nothing that you're hearing is new. It's all that the information now is getting out there because of social media. But there's been people wholesaling, buying tax deeds. It just wasn't called this or that. You know what I'm saying? You just have to pay for the right information. So I actually ended up doing what you call no money flips, right? Where I'm not paying any money out of pocket to flip a house. And traditionally the way that I do it is I have a lender that pays me 100% for purchase price and rental, as long as it fits the criteria that she likes. Okay? And essentially what I'll do is, for example, I actually have a house right now that I did it on. I got the house so I bought the house from my student. He wholesaled it to me. I got it for, I think, $305. I basically got it under my wholesaling LLC, right? So I got under contract for $305. I assigned it to my flipping LLC for $320. Okay? All right, so that's $15K profit. And then when I called her, I said, hey, listen, I'd like to fix this house, fix and flip it. You know, can you take a look at it to see if you loan me the money? She said, yeah, numbers are great, no problem. So I went to title company. So my lender, you know, it's hard to find a lender like this, but, you know, the points of the hard money lending fees are on the back end. So when I sell, she takes your points. And then also, all I have to do is pay closing costs, right? So the closing costs ended up be like 10 racks. Well, I already got 15,000. Once I closed, they write me a check to my actual wholesaling company for 15K. So I'm actually up $5,000 before I even flipped the house.
Made money.
Exactly. Yeah. So now I have the 5K, right? But now, obviously, you know, we have interest rates that you have to pay on fixing the house, and obviously you have contractors. That's where we leverage credit, you know, credit cards. So you can liquidate the credit card and pay them, or just pay them obviously with the credit card. And then what I started to do is obviously literally start flipping houses, no money down. After I found the house, sold it to myself. So certain houses I keep, certain houses I flip myself. Instead of making y'all can make the 20K on the wholesale, let me go ahead and make the 80K on the flip. But I learned all of that just by being around buyers that I was selling the properties to.
Bro, that was so much game, bro. They don't. I don't think they understand, man.
They'll rewind.
See, I got it because we're doing it too, right? But like, bro, game. Now that lender though, is she available?
I could put you on. So she's only Central Florida, but you know, even if you don't have a lender like that, there's a website called ifundcities.com. You can find a whole bunch of you know, private money lenders and hard money lenders. Go to your local RIA. There's lenders out there. But the way you get in the game, man, is you got to become valuable in the real estate space, and that's going to be with you providing some type of value, right? And like I said, your average realtor just may not be that. So, you know, being a wholesaler, providing these guys, these high level people, this type of money and these types of opportunities with the housing is, that's going to help you get there for sure.
Bro, that was game. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and like transition into, I want to talk about, because you have a CRM that can help people. Let's talk about it. Can it help people like find deals?
So what I would say to you, so like I said, I always like to give away the game, right? Number one is that the best list is the list that you cannot find through all these places. I'll just give it to you like that. PropStream, Batch, whatever it is that you see your favorite guru trying to push right now, the best, one of my favorite lists is called code violations. Okay. Now, code violations typically is not found on any of these because there's so many little intricacies in municipalities that it's hard for them to keep up with it, so they can't aggregate the data. Okay. Now, I'll give y'all another gem. So one of my first couple of deals ended up being what's called a code violation deal. And essentially the property was getting violated by the city for just being abandoned, you know, bad grass, all that good stuff. And it was violated for 5 years, $500 a day, some craziness like that. Yeah. And what ended up happening was that I got under contract. Boom, we're going through the title process. Once we go ahead and do that, we're like, damn, it has like a lien of like $130,000. And I'm like, oh my God. And I think I was getting it for like maybe $40K or something like that, right? So I call the homeowner. The homeowner's like, yeah, that's my dad's house. I inherited like maybe 7 years ago. I don't live in that area no more. I actually live out of state, and I haven't been back there. I don't even know what it looks like. So I'm like, well, listen, bro, I know we said 40,000, but there's a lien of like $100 or something thousand on it. I don't know if I can even buy it anymore. And he's like, oh man, blah 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 blah. So I went up to the county, Seminole County, and I started talking to them about like, hey, what do we have to do to get this lien off? Now they have what's called lien amnesty. Lien amnesty essentially is where when you correct the violations, what they'll do is they'll wipe out either 100% or they'll wipe out, let's just say 90%, where you only have to pay a certain amount, or you only have to pay the actual hard cost that it took them to either go out there and take pictures or go out there to put fines, whatever their hard cost was. So anyways, bro, we went from taking this lien from literally 130-something thousand to like $1,300.
Dang.
And then I got him, so he obviously didn't know that, and that was after the fact, right? But I got him to just sell me the house for 2 racks.
Dang.
So I wholesale the property now for like 40 because I had all that spread in there. But if it wasn't for me understanding how to do that, but also our buyer had to take it with what's called a hold harmless, meaning that there's a cloud on there saying that, hey, you have these violations, and until you fix them, we won't wipe it off.
Right.
So the buyer is taking that risk, but the dope thing about it is that now it's like, I'm about to go after all the code violation properties because many other wholesalers, they're going to come up with these liens. They're going to say, well, I can't do nothing with it. Knowing I got somebody in the county that can literally just say, yeah, listen, these are the violations. This is what you need to correct. Yeah. As long as you have a buyer that buys it, with this hold harmless or cloud, you can take it and cool. So the reason I say that is because my CRM actually allowed me to get that deal. The average deal takes around 5 to 7 touches. So you have to at least hit that person 5 to 7 times. All right. Now, what we do in our CRM is called Mamba. What we do is that we actually do what's called it's basically called the sequence of hell. That's what I call it. And right now, what we're actually doing is that we take them through a 13 or 14 touch sequence. Okay, to where what happens is that essentially we hit them on a daily drip. So it's 7 days, but every single day it's a different time.
Okay.
Right. So let's just say I call you not answering. I'll put you on what's called my sequence of hell. Right. And it'll be 7 days where you'll get hit every single day, but at a different time of the day. So it doesn't look like it's a bot, but it's all automated, preset text messages.
And if I'm at work.
Yeah, exactly.
Eventually you'll get me not at work.
Exactly. Well, here's the thing. What we've noticed is that some people are overnight nurses. Some people are during the day nurses. Some people are stay-at-home moms. Some people. So you have to really hit people as long as you're within the time frame, right? You don't want to call out stuff that do not call list, times. But as long as you're in that time frame, you want to hit people sporadically so that you can get them to answer. Okay, that's number one. So then it goes on to what's called a weekly drip, where we hit you 1 month, obviously 4 times every single week. Now that's set up basically different days of each week. So one may land on Monday, the next one may be Wednesday, the other one may be Friday, then the other one may be Tuesday, right? For 4 weeks, 1 month. And if we don't get you then, we do what's called a monthly drip, where it's 6 months, right? And it lands every 31 days. So every time it hits you, it'll be every single month, but it'll be on a different day of that month. So we would take you through all those points until you obviously respond, right? Now, CRM is very, very important because you need to be able to build rapport and be able to remember. Right now, we have a deal in the contract. The guy hit us up in July, or we hit him up. He didn't want to sell at that time. He called us back on the 2nd of January and said, yo, I want to sell. I'm like, okay, how soon? 2 weeks. I'm like, okay, cool. as I'm talking to him in my CRM, we have all the notes of what we gathered from July. So we knew that he had cancer. We knew that he was living here. We knew all this information. So now when you're bringing that up, it kind of shows that you have a validity, and also it goes to show that you already know the situation versus this guy that's calling him every other day he's never spoken to.
Right, builds that rapport.
Exactly. So you're able to get in the door faster because you already had that foundation built up, right? So with CRM, it's just very important, I think, in any business to understand that, you know, your leads, you know, are what's going to make you the most money. So
Mamba.
So Mamba is basically the CRM that we use, and I mean, without that, honestly, I would say it would be really difficult to kind of just operate in just wholesaling in general, and I think real estate in general. I think everybody needs a CRM.
So we're gonna have to put that link underneath this video, man.
Yes, for sure.
Get that link for Mamba for sure. So, man, we got CRM. We talked about wholesale making money. So, as we wrap up, then, I just want to know what are some other tips and stuff, like what should people be doing if I want to start wholesale today, right? What do I do, like, next? Like, literally, what do I do to get started?
Yeah. So, if you want to start wholesaling today, the first thing you have to do is I would just say a auto reset of your mind. A lot of people don't talk about this. I know it's cliche, but you have to understand what mindset is. Mindset is what your mind is already set on, and we have to reset how you think, right? A lot of the times I used to be happy that I was getting a $1,200 tax return, right? Now I have to pay, you know, 5-figure, 6-figure sometimes tax bills to, you know, obviously Uncle Sam. So you have to understand that the way that you're thinking right now is not the best way to think, because you're already taking your own advice and you're not where you want to be. Okay, so number one is understanding, you know, that it's only going to take you. A lot of people want the view, but they don't want the climb. Yeah. So it's going to take you and only you to have your selfish moment right now to do something that you've never done before, right? Like, generational wealth is breaking habits, is actually doing the opposite of what you've seen other people do. Okay, so I would say just mindset. Number one, start reading books. One of my favorite ones, Rich Dad Poor Dad. Outwitting the Devil is my favorite book. I read that every year. So I would say mindset. Number two is having a plan. I meet so many people that I'm like, yo, what is it that you want to do? Man, I don't know. What's your credit? I don't know. You know, when you want to get married? I don't know. Are you dating with intention? I don't know. I'm just out here slaying, you know, like. You know, so it's like, you know, you have to be intentional about where you're trying to go and what you're trying to do. Because if you don't know, how's anybody else going to help you, right? And if you don't know, then find yourself a mentor. Now, when it comes down to strictly wholesaling, you first want to start off with market research. Market research is very, very important because you do not want to be fishing in a pond where there's no fish. Wholesaling works nationwide. There's only a couple states that don't allow it. There's loopholes to it. But at the same time, you can do it virtually. So if you live in those states, it's all good. You can obviously do it in another state. But not every state, not every city, not every rural area is going to have investors flipping properties there. So you want to be in a pond that there's actually fish that you can go ahead and catch. So market research is going to be important, right? I typically look at zip codes that have at least 30 cash transactions in the last 6 months or more, okay? And then obviously you can do city, county, and then so on and so forth. Next thing that you want to do is you want to get your buyers. There's so many people that do wholesaling the wrong way. They hit you up, yo, I got a deal. Well, it ain't a deal if nobody wants to buy it. Yeah. Right? Like, if Rolex was to go ahead and say, listen, we're selling these watches, right? And nobody goes and buys them, well, I guess it ain't a deal. It's not the right price because nobody's buying it. Right? So you have to understand that it's not about you thinking what the deal is. It's about what the end person thinks the deal is, right? You have a membership for $70K. You never sold it. Well, I guess you got to change your price, or you got to put more stuff in there because it's not a good deal, right? So you have to find your buyers first. Once you find your buyers, you then want to go ahead and ask them these questions. How many acquisitions, you know, have you done in the last 6 months, 12 months, right? What's your buy box, right? Do you use private lending, Harmony lending, or cash, right? Things of that nature, you obviously add them to your list. Now what you start doing is that you start fishing for those areas that they told you. If you have a sequence of 5 cash buyers and they're all saying, hey, I do this zip code, this zip code, this zip code, and they don't know each other, that means that those zip codes are hot. So then what you do is that you go ahead and pull a list. Now, not every list is going to be a good list. For example, we were doing Vegas. I didn't do market research. We started to go and do text blasting. right? We also did, I think at the time, I don't know, I think it was absentee owner. So we're doing it and we're like, man, this ain't working. Why ain't get no deals? We did market research. Guess what we found out?
What?
Mostly elders live in Las Vegas. Right? So you think these people are texting?
Nope.
No. So now what we did is we switched it up to direct mail and cold calling, and guess what? We started getting answers. We switched the list up from absentee to snowbirds, right? Or empty nesters. Right? Or high equity. So you have to understand your avatar. Right? So that's what that is. So then you have to, obviously you prove your list, you get your phone numbers, and then you just got to choose your marketing method. Very simple. Do you want to call? Do you want to text? What is it that you want to do? You know, some tips for calling. Number one, the first 5 seconds gets you your next 10 seconds, right? Your first impression is everything. So when you're calling somebody, make sure that you understand where you're trying to take them. And you always want to lead with the end in mind. What that means is that you're asking a lot of rhetorical questions without the tonality of being like an ass, right? You wanna basically ask questions that you already want them to give you this type of answer. All right? You want an example?
Be in control.
Be in control. So for example, it could be, all right, so hey, we typically get two different types of properties. A, properties that are 2025 and modern and need no renovations at all. Or B, properties that may be investor friendly and may need some work. Which one best describes yours?
B.
Exactly. So what I've done is that I've segregated A to be really, really, really strict, but I've made B very welcoming and open.
Right.
So it's a form of flashlighting. Now, typically people remember the last thing you say. So my answer that I want them to choose, I'm always going to put it as B.
Yeah.
And the last thing is my tonality. When I say the first part, I'm going to say very stern and straightforward, versus the last part, I'm going to say very, right? So they don't even know that psychologically I'm already playing into their mind, but it's because they already told me that obviously their house is distressed.
Okay.
So anyways, with that being said, you know, there's a lot of ways. I like cold calling because you get into it. But after that, man, you know, you just get the deal under contract, you sell a contract, and basically it.
Bro, read the books, man. Like selling, I'm reading a lot of like sales books and understanding that psychology of the human mind, right?
Yes.
It goes a long way. It's even, people don't understand, when I go to an online auction, I'm winning auctions at a better price because I even understand what's going on virtually. It's crazy. Like I'm winning properties for 3,000, 5,000 when the properties are selling over 10. It's like, look, I really understand the human mind, and one thing that I use in like the tax deed auctions is people always expect the worst. So when you're in an auction and you're bidding $100, $100, people think they have a chance.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, I'll wait till the last 10 seconds and I'm gonna go well over what the last bid was. When they see that red bar, it just psychs them. They're, oh man, this guy's probably some guy with a lot of money. You try to bid $100, you still see you're not the highest bidder, they normally give up, right? Because I'm not playing games to like, oh, what's another $100? What's another $100? You don't give them a chance, right?
You're bluffing, that bluff. Yeah,
it works like a charm.
Yes.
So that was a lot of sauce, bro, and it was so well said too. That's the thing, like in a way people can understand. So, how can people find you? Where can they go to find Blue Notes Brandon? Some of this sauce?
You just said it. I mean, on Instagram, at Blue Notes Brandon, BLUENOTES Brandon. YouTube, the same thing. Facebook is my name, Brandon Narain, and TikTok, I don't know what's gonna happen, but it's my name as well, Brandon Narain. So that's the best way to find me. You know, if you guys need any type of help or whatever, just DM me or subscribe to my YouTube. I'm always giving game on there as well.
Free my dog TikTok.
Yeah. All right, peace.
Hey, I appreciate you, dog.
For sure, brother. Thank you for having me, bro. Thank you.
Like, share, subscribe. Go ahead and give Blue Notes Brandon a follow. He's putting out a ton of awesome content, and we're gonna see you on the next video. Let's get to work.